Hi, I'm Dan Murphy, and I am here with several members of the Sherborn Police Force to talk about some safety concerns for the upcoming fall. So, why don't we start by having you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. Good evening. I am Chief Rick Thompson, and I am the Chief of Police for the Town of Sherborn Police Department.
James Graziano. I've been with the Sherborn Police Department for 11 years. Happy to be here.
Great.
I'm Officer Kelly Bush. I've been with the Sherborn Police Department for 2 years. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm so happy you guys to all be here. So, I think our plan is to try to have this kind of quarterly talk about different safety concerns for the different seasons. And the intention is to try to have people maybe email you guys as safety questions as well, right?
Correct.
So you said you wanted to start maybe by reading a statement discussing your ideas, or?
Sure, it is. And first, I wanted to thank you, Dan, for putting this together. I think this is a great idea and a great opportunity for us to partner with Dover Sherborn Cable and interact with our community members. As I had mentioned to you via email and during several of our conversations, a lot of the reason why I chose to start what we're going to call the Sherborn Guardian is based on some concerns that were shared by community members who were not able to attend our public safety meetings that we have monthly and/or our traffic safety meetings that we have monthly. So I wanted to bring some information out to the community that we discuss in those meetings, and also share some crime prevention information for the community in general. So a few months back, when you and I had discussed this idea, I had posted something on Nextdoor Sherborn, and basically, if I can read it, I just said, your police department is partnered with Dover Sherborn Cable Television and are in the process of developing a public safety television program called the Sherborn Guardian. The Sherborn Guardian will be used as a platform for your police department to provide crime prevention strategy, inform our community on crime trends, educate our community on current affairs, provide an opportunity for residents to get to know your police professionals, and allow for your officers to share their ongoing efforts. So I think one of the more important topics today as we speak, we discussed them before we started the program, that school is going to be opening up next Wednesday, I believe, the 28th. I'm sure the young folks at home are very excited to go back to school.
Yeah.
So obviously some of the issues that we would be concerned about, and we want to kind of maybe make the parents aware of are obviously when the younger guys and gals are at their bus stops. We're hoping that the parents take this opportunity to sit down with the kids and just explain to them, go over with them, being safe at your bus stop location, making sure that you pay attention to the traffic that's going by, because unfortunately people do speed by locations where kids are getting on and off buses. Obviously, respect your bus driver and their wishes and their rules on the bus. And most importantly, from our perspective, if any of the kids are approached by strangers, and it really doesn't matter what the circumstances are, we're encouraging parents to please pick the phone up and call our business line, and in the case of emergency, obviously call 911.
Okay. And then just so people have it, what is the business line?
Sure, 508-653-2424.
Okay, great. And I think it's also important to note that this isn't replacing the monthly traffic and safety meetings. This is just in addition to that for people who can't attend.
Correct. And I'm hoping as we kind of gain momentum with this program, I'm hoping to actually invite members of the Traffic Safety Committee and Public Safety Committee, get them on camera and embarrass them a little bit, and have them share some of their ideas and some of their suggestions that we discuss regularly to make things more safe in our community.
Okay. So what are some of the big safety concerns just generally that kind of have come up this time of year?
So, like I said, this time of year, it's all about school safety and security. I had a very lengthy luncheon with Dr. Keogh a few weeks back, so we discussed some upcoming ideas. One of the ideas that we were discussing is this idea of what is not the access road. The Pine Hill, I'm sorry, the
Emergency
Pine Hill
access.
Emergency Access Road, we were talking about actually paving that and making that a usable throughway for traffic and for buses. So that's something that's going to be on the horizon for the community, and we're hoping that it's going to garner support from community members. I can have Officer Graziano and Officer Bush talk about some of their ideas that and interests that they're going to be presenting to the community soon. Red?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, Officer Bush and myself, last fall, we attended RAD training.
Okay.
This is it's specifically designed for women. It's a self-defense class.
Mm-hmm.
In the near future, we plan on hosting a roughly 4 to 5 3-hour nights of class time and then hands-on time to get people familiar with defending themselves in any kind of situation that they could come across. It's can be anyone from 18 years old to senior citizens. In the classes that we've helped out with, we've had some younger females and then some older women, and they all can punch pretty well. Everyone, once they're pushed enough, everyone is able to handle themselves, and everyone that we've dealt with has felt better after the class is complete. We don't have a definite time, but we plan to host a class in the near future. Likely at the police department would be for the classroom part, and then we're still looking to where we're going to be hosting the physical aspect of whether it's going to be at the Pine Hill School or one of the churches.
Okay.
We just need to set up some gym time, I guess.
All right. And then how would people find out more information about this program as it becomes available?
So, more so Officer Bush, she works days, I work an overnight shift. But speaking to community members, we've offered the class just to see if we've can stir up some interest, and we've had a lot of positive feedback. All the people that we normally interact with said that they'd be interested. In the future, we would probably post on Nextdoor Sherborn. That's really our only social media at this time. We do have a Twitter account, but we're most active with Nextdoor, so that would be the place to find something, and we'll get plenty of notice when that time comes.
All right.
Yeah, so and we'll probably hang up flyers around town
Oh,
like
yeah.
we usually do when we have like the
Absolutely.
blood drive and stuff like that. And the other thing I think it's important to note with Brad is that I think sometimes when we get a little intimidated by self-defense, the idea of it,
Mhm.
and the one thing that's really important about that class is that it's for everyone, and it's like basic stuff that anyone can do no matter what their physical ability is, and it's kind of just getting you used to being comfortable with defending yourself, which is kind of appealing, I think, for someone that maybe not be used to something like that.
Yeah. No. That's and it's a way of making yourself feel more safe, which.
Yeah.
Which
And so then to go off of the RAD class, there is an aspect that we talk about home safety in the RAD class. Officer Bush and myself have also been certified in CPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And it's basically it's designed for businesses, but it could be perfect for residential. We've already done some houses to make people feel safer at home. Some things that they may not think about. One of the biggest things is lighting around houses. Certain lighting. Say you aren't spending much money on your lighting per se, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may see a blue shirt on camera, and then if you have the proper lighting, you may see a black shirt on camera. So there's a lot of small things through CPTED, and it was a 5-day, 40+ hour class. A lot of things that you'd never think of. A lot of things that we go over with residents. But some small things that will make you feel safer at home or safer at your business. We're happy to do it for any businesses in town, and happy to offer our services basically to anyone in town. The town of Sherborn itself, businesses, residents.
It's kind of just teaching people to increase their like natural surveillance so they can see in and out of their businesses easier.
Yeah, well, and then I think one of the other things is with increasing lighting of businesses. It's not just about out to see an intruder. It's also to not potentially trip over something or have a personal accident.
Did you take the class?
No, but
He's trying to garner our business for the fire rescue department.
but so I guess as we should maybe open this up to questions that you receive frequently from the community, or if you've gotten some emails about specific questions, like what are common safety concerns for residents of Sherborn?
Sure. So you should know that we're extremely proactive in the community. What I mean by that is, I expect my personnel to interact with community members, and particularly community members that we would consider our at-risk population. For example, our elder residents. So we do receive quite a bit of quite a few questions and concerns via our Council on Aging from our elder residents. So typically what I'll do is I'll send officers down to do a presentation for groups of elders to talk about phone scams and your typical IRS scams. And we like to make it clear to residents that the IRS does not pick the phone up and call you and say that if you don't send this money or this money ordered to this address, we're going to come and get an arrest warrant for you. The IRS does not operate like that. There are plenty of resources that we are actively applying to our department website to better educate community members about crime prevention tips for phone scams and scams via email. So I would just offer to the community members just to make sure that you look for those resources that are online.
In addition to that, one of the bigger fraud incidents that we've had has been through the post office and outside sources utilizing what's the name of informed delivery through the U.S. Postal Service. Informed delivery is for any citizen. You can sign up and you know what's coming in your mail that day. Unfortunately, there isn't really much of a safeguard to protect who actually lives at that residence. So we've had outsiders saying that they live at a certain address, and then they're using that information when they see bills coming in or something from like, for example, the IRS, something that would have pertinent, detailed information that a criminal could use against people. So people need to be vigilant. With the informed delivery, we've had people basically just going by mailboxes and picking up mail because they know what's coming in. I'll let Officer Bush explain that more. She's been involved in this investigation a little more than myself.
So we've had,
but it is something to be very aware of, and it's continued for months.
yeah, so we've had a lot of issues with exactly like what Officer Graziano said, that they'll grab the mail and then they'll use the personal identifying information to apply for a credit card or some other sort of account, or numerous other accounts, and then use that to go shopping or make other transactions on the credit card. So just kind of having people be a little bit more aware of their mail and what deliveries are coming in, anything peculiar, or say you're getting like a large amount of credit card applications coming, that might be a red flag. I've seen a lot through Citibank. Most of the time, I will say they haven't actually been successful at getting the transactions, but they have been successful in applying for the credit card using the personal information that they've gotten out of the mailbox.
I'd say if you don't plan on using the informed delivery, to notify the post office to say that you're not interested, so that no one else can open it up for your home address.
All right, that's probably good advice.
Yeah, that kind of stops it right there.
Yeah.
So now they don't know what's coming in the mail.
Yeah, because I've not been aware of that program to begin with.
Yeah.
So.
And on the heels of what Officer Graziano and Officer Bush explained, specific to that type of investigation, we want to make certain that residents are aware that these scams are ongoing, and that we really need to be paying attention as a community to what's going on next door. So, please, if you see a suspicious vehicle or a suspicious person in your neighbor's driveway, or a suspicious vehicle out in front of your neighbor's house, unfortunately, we've had residents tell us how many times, far too many times that they don't feel like bothering us. You're certainly not bothering us. That's our job. That's our role. Please call us. If you have to call 911, that's fine. The quicker we can get the information, the quicker we can get out to identify these persons, and frankly, persons that might be next door that you may not be familiar with. Your neighbor might not be home. It could be a cousin, it could be a relative, but let us make that determination and just give us the opportunity to prevent you from being victimized by this type of crime.
All right, and it's interesting, I think that people think of safety as physical safety much, and can kind of overlook some of these identity protection situations. What are some of the specific things in terms of the changing of the seasons to be concerned about with fall specifically?
Like Chief mentioned at the beginning, the school bus safety. Just be aware of all the school buses. We know the times roughly around 7 o'clock. The school buses are out with people in their vehicles. Be patient. I know they make a lot of stops. Their stop signs will be out. Officers will be out patrolling the area, especially at the beginning of the school season, making sure no one's passing those stop signs. And then also, as Chief mentioned, with the students that are at their bus stops, if they see something out of place, don't feel embarrassed, give us a call. It's better for someone to feel embarrassed than for someone to be victimized. So certainly reach out to us. That's the big difference, I guess, from going to summer to fall. People have been away. If something looks out of place at their home, don't feel embarrassed to reach out to us. I know I keep saying that, and Chief mentioned it. A lot of people, that's what they say. They feel embarrassed, and things don't get reported to us because they're embarrassment. That's our job over there to help. If it's just you forgot about leaving something open, that's okay. Oversights happen, but we don't want anyone to be victimized out there. So certainly reach out to us. If Officer Bush can add to that, and then we do have some specific
and then
email
we'll get
questions.
I was just going to say, this time of the year with the fall, people are out more walking around, bike riding, stuff like that. Just be more aware of that. Allow enough space for the bike riders. Crosswalks too. Make sure you're stopping for the crosswalk when people are standing and waiting. I know that a lot. People going to CNL in town.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that would be my question.
All right. So now we should probably get into the specific questions that you might have received.
So I heard from Carol on Spywood Road. So she said, I saw Chief Thompson's post on Nextdoor about the Sherborn Guardian. I think it's a great idea and look forward to checking it out. I have a suggestion of something that might be good to touch on during an upcoming episode, pedestrian and road safety, which Officer Bush just mentioned. We have a lot of runners, walkers, dog walkers, and bike riders on our winding roads, and I'm concerned that many pedestrians and drivers alike aren't aware of safety rules. I've seen numerous walkers on the incorrect side of the road, walkers, runners not taking precautions around tight corners. I'm thinking a segment on road safety that reviews best practices for each type of road user, walker, runner, bike rider, car, would be beneficial. Thanks.
No, I think that's some good advice, and it also brings me some questions I might add. But I think start with what is basic safety.
Absolutely. And I'd say this is probably one of our biggest complaints or questions would be road safety. So specific to runners, walkers, she mentions walking on opposite sides of traffic. We don't have many roads that have sidewalks besides the center of town. Just make sure people are being aware of where they are walking. If they're walking in morning hours or late evening hours, to potentially wear some high-vis reflective shirt, pants. They have them on a lot of sneakers now. Actually, I just purchased a product that was recommended through the SEPTED class. They use it, a lot of cyclists use it. It's a spray. It's an invisible spray you can put on your boots, bicycle, clothing, and it reflects in light. So I thought that was great to use. I purchased it for myself when I'm working at night if I'm on a detail. to make myself more visible at nighttime, you have a little extra reflective besides the high-vis vest and gloves that I'm wearing. So that's a suggestion. Same thing, dog walkers, they may be with several. We do have a new, I can't say specifics about the new control law that we have in town. There has been, within the last 6 months or so,
About a year.
a control law that some residents may not be aware about. Previously, there was no leash law. Now, if you have the dog off leash, it just needs to be within your control. Respond to voice commands. If you're taking your dog out and it doesn't turn around, if you call its name, it's probably not a good idea to continue that. You're going to want to have your dog on a leash.
And for the dog safety. Most importantly, I would say.
Yeah.
It's not just human safety.
Correct.
Absolutely. Cyclists. Fall. I'd say fall is probably the busiest season when a lot of the cyclists come in town. People come from Boston and all over to come through the windy roads. Just make sure that they're being safe and drivers are being safe for the drivers. I know people want to get around them. Just make sure you have a safe opportunity to pass the cyclists. Don't be doing it on corners. Try and wait for straightaways. Just make yourself safe as the driver, so you're not getting in a crash with any other vehicles, and give yourself safe space from the cyclists. Cyclists, I believe they're allowed to go two abreast, just like a motorcycle would. We don't have any cycling lanes in town, but I think most do a good job. Just we want to stay closest to the right side of the road when we're riding in big groups. When there's big groups, and I've had discussions with large groups that have come through town, just be safe. Don't be taking up more than a lane of traffic, which unfortunately happens sometimes.
Yeah, well, and then also there's the Dover Sherborn Boosters Triathlon is upcoming, and some of that does go through Sherborn, so
Correct.
Might be some safety concerns to talk about with that as well.
Yeah, so we in fact, Lieutenant Bento usually coordinates traffic control with respect to those types of events. And he recently communicated with the event holders, and we kind of set up a game plan to mitigate the traffic and control the travel lane for the bicyclists and runners and what have you, to make the event as safe as possible for them, and obviously for the motoring public that has to drive around that route. And I did want to touch on one thing from the question posed by Carolyn there. A good rule of thumb that I always stuck with me, even when I was a kid, is when you're in a bicycle to travel with traffic, when you're running or walking to travel against traffic. The reason being that people are more apt to see bicyclists. It's a bigger. You're on an actual device, and it's easier when you're jogging or you're walking as you're walking toward traffic to see the traffic coming your way. So I think that's a good rule of thumb. Additionally, I wanted to point out that the Boston Police Department put together a really excellent educational video, which I believe Traffic Safety now has on their website. If you go to www.sherbornma.gov,
yes,
and you scroll and find traffic safety, you'll see this safety video, which will walk bicyclists and the motoring public through what rights actually the bicyclists have, and there's some pretty good safety tips embedded in that video. So I would encourage people to watch that video that are avid bicyclists.
Yes. Just lastly, cyclists, they share the road with drivers, and just make sure that they're following all the same laws that they would as if they were in a car. Stop signs, mark lanes, same rules apply to the cyclists. And for the triathlon coming up, assuming as in years past we have several details, and it's been a well-coordinated event over the years, and we'll be prepared for it that day.
Yep, and we partner with our Sherborn Fire Rescue personnel. They usually have an ambulance and a medic crew on standby in the event there's an issue with some of the participants. So I'd say you're in great hands for the triathlon.
Yeah, and you coordinate with the Dover Police and Fire Department as well.
Correct.
Because it covers both towns.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So maybe we move on to the next question.
Sure.
I have a question from Peter on Everett. I actually have two questions. So he wanted to talk about speed limits. We would appreciate a reminder to observe speed limits, especially in residential areas. Example, he lives on Everett Street and has a small child who plays out in the driveway frequently. Speed limit there is posted at 25 miles per hour, and people frequently exceed the limit. I'm guessing 35 to 40 miles per hour is quite common. We do our best to keep our son and friends on our property, but as any parent knows, there's always a chance that kids might be in the street retrieving a lost ball, walking to a neighbor's home, greeting a neighbor on a walk, riding a scooter or bicycle, etc. And they fully understand and respect that people use Everett as a cut-through between 16 and 27, and we just ask that people do their best to stay within the speed limit and to stay vigilant for pedestrians, including children at play. So we frequently we're very proactive with running radar in town and trying to ensure that people are driving the speed limits. We do our best to. We are a smaller department, so we do our best to split up and observe different traffic areas in town. But I think Peter brings up a good point especially with the school year coming up. I know this morning with the school bus stops, kids are out playing. I know I went up this summer and played kickball with kids at one of the last days of school, and they were out in the street playing. So I just think people need to be mindful of the speed limits. They wouldn't want people speeding through their neighborhoods. And we know that some of the postings are 25, 30. Just I think it's important that people, residents as well, are trying to stay as close to the speed limit as possible and observing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of there are very few places in town that I think the speed limit is over 30, if any at all. But it's just, this is a very residential town, so hopefully people can keep that in mind. Unfortunately, with 16 and 27 passing through, a lot of the people who are driving over the speed limit may not be town residents.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Besides those would only 27, 16, and then actually 115 Bullard Street into the north would be the only three streets that are 40 plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we when we deploy our personnel to do traffic posts and directed patrols, we rely on data that we collect. Mm-hmm. So and a lot of this ties into our meetings and the information we gather and collect through our traffic safety committee. In fact, we have a meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. A lot of the information that we trap and data that we trap, we utilize to direct our personnel to locations where we have high incidence of traffic accidents. So we know obviously that people are not obeying either the speed limit or not paying attention to traffic control devices, whether it is a stop sign or a yield sign or our singular set of stoplights. So our officers are directed to those areas to not only enforce the traffic rules and laws, but also to educate persons that are operating vehicles. Obviously, we've got young guys and gals that are getting their licenses as juniors in high school, and we're certainly not going out there to stop them and have their licenses suspended. I do not have a zero tolerance approach to traffic enforcement. I don't expect my officers to have a zero tolerance approach. I hope that the officers use their discretion and that they use that as an opportunity when they stop a vehicle, particularly with a young guy or gal, to introduce themselves, get to know the officer, and the officer has an opportunity to explain, hey, listen, Johnny or Jane, you really shouldn't be speeding through here. It's dangerous. You could get yourself hurt. You get somebody else hurt. So we do pay a lot of attention, and we do deploy our personnel daily to different locations throughout the town where we know there are issues. But I do want to emphasize to community members, and I say this every time I'm at a Board of Selectmen meeting, we have literally 2 officers assigned per shift. So we have 2 patrol cars that patrol the entire town. So we do the best we can with the resources we have. And I would love to have an officer assigned to every single street where we receive complaints from residents when we receive the complaints, but we simply do not have the resources to do that on a consistent basis. So just bear with us and just please show some patience, and I guarantee you that we'll have officers out there at some point.
Well, and then, but I mean, I think that you also do collect the data on which areas are perhaps the least safe or have the most incidences, and it's I think maybe I'm wrong here, but it's not just posting speed limits that can reduce incidents and aggressively trying to enforce those speed limits. But I think other ways. I know that various intersections in Sherborn have kind of been reconfigured to kind of people are creating 2 lanes where there shouldn't be 2 lanes, and things like that. So there are other ways of also increasing safety that I think you guys monitor and you come back to the town.
Correct.
So I think that it's important that people kind of realize that you are looking at all those and always trying to make things safe.
Right. All kinds of violations, not just speed. Another one in particular, texting.
Yeah.
People on their phones. Yeah. That can be observed anywhere in the state, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's illegal in the state of Massachusetts, I believe.
Yeah. And you, I think you would laugh at some of the circumstances that were placed into when we stop persons operating motor vehicles. In the 10 years I've been here as chief, I've had officers tell me that they've stopped people that they're not paying attention to the road because they've got a spoon buried into a half gallon of ice cream. Or there was an incident where I think it was you, Jimmy, stopped a resident because they were eating a sweet potato and not paying attention to traffic. So we can all joke and have a laugh about that, but the reality is when you get into the car, you should be paying attention to vehicle operation and only the operation of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. We don't want to see you get hurt, and we certainly don't want to see you hurt anybody. So.
Okay. Do we have additional questions?
I have one more quick one. So they wanted to talk about down wires, reporting them and keeping a safe distance. Down wires, don't touch them. Don't touch them with
Very
a stick.
simply.
Just if you see a down wire, don't go up to it. I know some people will be like, oh, I'll just move it with a stick. No, don't do that. Give us a call. We'll take any call. You can call the business line like Chief said, or call 911. We've had wires down across the roadway. We have a lot of trees in town. Sometimes they'll knock down the wires. It happens frequently. Give us a call. Let the fire department come out and handle it. I can't emphasize enough. Like, don't touch the wires.
Don't touch any down wires.
Yeah, we don't even touch the wires, and we communicate with our Eversource representatives, and they're the experts with that. And I will tell you that it doesn't take much to end your life when you touch those wires.
Yeah, I mean, wires are certainly among the most dangerous things that can be blocking a roadway, but I know that trees can fall on the road and things like that, and people should contact you about if an incident like that occurs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anything that obstructs the roadway, please, again, if you have to call 911, call 911 so we can get out there and, secure the area and get the proper resources there to correct the situation.
That'll be happening more often with, I guess another thing would be hurricane season coming up with fall.
Great point.
A lot of trees coming down, and then power outages. Mm-hmm. We still get a lot of phone calls about people losing power. Sometimes, we'll still receive the calls and we'll investigate the area. Mm-hmm. If, there is a tree in the roadway or there's a transformer fire. But residents still need to remember that they need to contact the power company if their power's out. Mm-hmm. I don't know the 1-800 number off the top of my head, but it's a very easy Google search, or we could give it to you at the station. It's a 1-800 number, and you report your outage to Eversource, and they take it from there.
And we do as we're approaching storm season, and particularly when there's a storm that National Weather Service is advising is going to be an issue in our area, we are very proactive about pushing that information out to residents. Again, mostly via Next Door Sherborn, sometimes via our reverse 911 system, our Code Red system. So I just would. Just want to get it out there to the residents to pay attention to those robocalls, I guess is the best way to refer to those, because we don't use those we don't use that system often because I don't want to overuse it to a point where people are not even paying attention to the message. So when you get those calls, please pay attention to the message. If for some reason you don't get the entire message, feel free to call the business line at the police department, again, 508-653-2424, and we can get you the information that you need.
Great.
It plays over more than once if you miss something at the beginning. I know a lot of people mention that. And I think even through that phone number that calls you, you can get the message again. We'll accept any phone call, but during the hurricane season, just like there's only 2 officers on the road, there's only 1 officer on the desk. And, I don't want to see them getting, 10 phone calls about just people having their power outage, having power out when we're already aware of the issue for that particular neighborhood. People just, when there's outages, call Eversource.
Well, and then, obviously there can be some additional safety concerns when there's power out, especially if it affected the one street light in the town. But
yeah, that's right. That's right. And just to wrap that up, I mentioned Code Red. For residents that are not familiar with Code Red and have not signed on to Code Red again, you can go to www.sherbornma.org, and you'll see I believe on the opening page, it should show
the town's homepage.
Yeah, the town's homepage. It should show a Code Red sign up.
Right.
So you can just follow the prompts, and if you have a problem signing up with that, please give us a call, and one of the officers will help you.
Okay, that's great. Did we have any additional questions, or was that it?
That's all we heard from. We posted this kind of a while ago. Officer Bush and myself will make sure to post this the same message that the chief listed
Yeah,
before.
and hopefully people
upcoming.
watching this program might also have some questions.
Yeah.
So if they, why don't we just have? Do you have an email address or somewhere that they
So
can send?
Officer Bush and myself, so I could be reached at jgraziano, JGRAZIANO at SherbornPolice.org. Officer Bush, K Bush.
At SherbornPolice.org.
Yeah. All right.
So
Bush common spelling, correct?
Yeah,
Kelly?
common spelling.
Okay. All right.
Email us any questions. We'll save them for the next show. Hopefully we can list a few messages before so we get some.
And we'll probably be back in November or something like that to talk about safety concerns for winter. So
absolutely.
So thanks so much for
Thank
coming
you.
in to talk.
Thank you.
I think this went pretty well, and I'll see you in a few months. So,
Great.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.